I wanted to record something addressing what somebody mentioned in a comment. And that was that they're afraid to lose the progress that they've made. And I thought this is a great topic for a video because it's so fundamental to this path about the mind being afraid of losing something, right? So there was another comment along a similar mind of, if only I knew that if I was going to let go, I could know what was on the other side, right? But that's not really willing to let go. That's exactly the mind's kind of way of looking at things. And it's fine. I'm not judging you, but I'm going to point out where your mind is keeping you stuck. So main thing I want to talk about, what are you afraid to lose? Because freedom comes when you're willing to lose everything. So ask yourself this question: am I afraid to lose it all? And what does that bring up? Or more, am I willing to lose it all? Because that's where freedom comes from, right? In every area of your life. And sure, you will take the steps to getting to that full letting go, right? So for some people it happens faster, for some people it happens slower. I can't say how it's going to play out for you, but what I can say is that's where you need to look, is what am I afraid to lose? What does that bring up? What am I trying to hold on to? That's what causes suffering. The mind tries to collect experience. The mind tries to create an individual who has things. When freedom comes from the full, and once you've felt into all the fears around this, freedom arises out of the willingness to fully be willing to lose everything in every single moment. And that's when there's no longer you that's separate from life trying to manage it. So that's seem like quite an extreme thing for some, depending on where you are in this journey. So that's why I say explore this where you're at. Ask yourself this question: what am I afraid of losing? And just see that freedom comes from going into that fear. It doesn't come from avoiding experiences so that you don't lose things. It comes from the willingness to be so vulnerable and open and in the grittiness of life that you're willing to lose whatever it feels like you've gained. So again, if this sounds too abstract, right? If it sounds like, okay, but what am I actually talking about? Just look in your experience what comes to mind. This is the powerful work, is to do inquiry. Sit with a question and see what it brings up. And it's not about analyzing the answer, right? So if you sit with this question, what am I afraid to lose? And maybe you're afraid of what the mind might say is going back into a really difficult experience, or of losing your health. But if you really feel into it, it's just fear coming up now, and then the mind will create a story around it, a narrative about the past, about the future. And again, if you really have done enough work around here, you eventually come to the space where you are willing to go into that fear with no idea if you're going to come out of it on the other side. And that's where freedom lies. You don't get to freedom through knowing that letting go is going to take you across to the other side, right? And again, you don't know when you're going to get to that real letting go. All you can do is look, how can I let go more? How can I open up to something that I'm afraid of? How can I feel into some fear? How can I let go of my mind's need to know and control and understand, and let go in whatever way I can deeper into the unknown space where I might lose everything? Where is that in your experience, right? Where is that space that you don't want to go? Sit with it, right? Why would someone be afraid to sit for half an hour and really dig in? because of what might come up, right? The mind might label it as boredom. It might label it as confusion. I'm not doing this right. But all of that, what's at the root of it? Keep peeling back the layers of the onion. And then look where else in your life are you holding back, right? There is no part of your life that is not part of this journey. There just isn't. It's not, there is no like partitioning the way the mind thinks there is, right? There's different areas that we might click in place first. Maybe that's the health part, but it's so interrelated to every single aspect of your life. See where maybe you learn to meditate, right? Maybe you learn to get comfortable sitting on the mat. So maybe for you, it's like, sure, I can sit comfortably for an hour and let go on the mat. But maybe you're afraid of letting go in life, in the grittiness, messiness of humanity, of around others. That was a really important part of my journey, was phase 2. Phase 2 was, okay, sure, you conquered has connotations that it came through will and effort. And there is an element of that, but not in the way the mind thinks. But whatever, you conquered the fear through allowing it so fully, opening your heart to it so fully in your own space. Now see how there's still so much fear in the other spaces of life. And as you explore that, you find a lot. You still find a lot. So everybody's journey is different. Everybody's timeline different. Everybody's order of things, how they play out, might be slightly different to me. But the core of it is always the same. And entirely, I can tell you from my space now, is that whenever I feel struggle arising, it's because a massive part of it is because it feels like there's something that I'm trying to hang on to. And then I realize I just have to keep letting go, right? So I have to realize that, for an example, talking on this YouTube channel, I'm feeling the need to talk about deeper aspects of this journey. And there was a part of my mind that was hesitant about that, right? I have no idea how these videos land with somebody. It could sound like I'm absolutely crazy, but if that's so, that's so. And from my experience, whenever I truly let go into life without knowing and really am willing to lose it, it's not going to go how you expect it to go, but it will go how you need it to go. That's the beauty of it, right? It doesn't mean that reality is going to play out exactly the way the mind hopes, that, okay, if I let go in this area of my life, it's going to lead to the outcome that I want. It doesn't work like that, but it will lead to an outcome that in the long run is exactly the outcome you needed. But you can't see that from this side. You don't know what that outcome is. That outcome is playing out in your life all the time. But if you continue to hold on to the perspective of, I know my life path, I know exactly how things need to play out, and when things don't play out that way, I need to fight against life, that's going to cause suffering. And that's part of the journey as well, right? Because that's how you eventually see that you have to let go of that way of being. And I talk about this in a lot of my videos, that if somebody's in that space, well, that's the exact space they need to be in. It might sound harsh, and I've had people tell me I'm not compassionate by talking like that, and that's just not true. That is probably the most compassionate thing it feels like I could say, is rather than reinforcing somebody's story of stuckness and all of that, it's more difficult to go against it. And it's a balance, right? I find that with this path, it's you do need to balance the compassion with the wisdom. So anyways, the key point I just wanted to drive home is you got to be willing to lose it all. You don't know what's on the other side. And the more you can come from that space, I can't tell you how it's going to play out. I can't tell you that you won't have intense physical experiences, right? I've endured a lot physically, like the stuff that happens in the body, but the less and less and less and less and less I resist it, the less of a problem it is. Whenever there's something intense in the body, the more I can dive into that experience fully. It's seen to be intense. It's not seen to be pain or discomfort. It's pain and discomfort when the mind resists it. When you really surrender to it, and often you have no choice but to surrender to it, the mind will resist, and some part of you is trying to surrender, and it's not a smooth process. But if you have that kind of core intention to surrender to whatever is here, then you see that it's not what the mind was saying it was. The physical experience it's not symptoms, actually. Right? That might seem radical. You're saying my symptoms aren't symptoms. It's symptoms if you choose to label it as symptoms, if you choose to see that this is part of the story about the chronic illness that I have, that's part of me, that's part of my life. I'm kind of shifting away from talking like that. I mean, not in my own personal experience, that's long gone, but talking about this online. As I said, I'm starting to go a little bit deeper with things, and along with that, it might trigger some people, but that fear has really dropped, because I triggered a shitload of people not too long ago, and it was really liberating, actually. Knowing that, not purposely triggering people, but knowing that sharing what feels authentic is going to trigger people, and that's fine. But when you really stop believing that there is a symptom, that this is a symptom in my experience that I need to get rid of, it really is the start of your path to freedom. And it might seem so far down the line, but it's available. And all you ever need to do is work with what's here now. Work with the fear that's here. Work with the discomfort that's here. Open to it. And see, what is this if I drop the label symptom? What is this if I drop the label uncomfortable? And even if it feels like you don't know how to do that, just do it. Do it in any way that you can. And that willingness is what takes you on the journey. It's what takes you forward. Or nowhere. It takes you nowhere, really. But deeper into here. Because there is no forward or backward. But, there's terminology we can use. So, anyways, that's today's video.